Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. It's your girl Jennifer, here again with a very interesting conversation. Last time we were talking about making New Year's resolutions. Have you made your resolutions? How far are you with them? Anyway, the year is still quite young and there's so much to do. So feel free, keep thinking about your resolutions, keep testing them, whatever you can do. But remember, we said do not miss out on enjoying life, So on that note of resolutions and everything, today my voice sounds a bit croaky, I don't know why. So on that note of making resolutions and everything, you can't make resolutions when you're not making good decisions. Decision making is part of resolution making because resolutions are all about decisions, right? So I want to talk about how to make good decisions. It sounds very obvious, but is it really obvious? So we make a lot of decisions in life, but how many good decisions do we make? How far, like when you try to analyze the decisions you've made now, in the past, decisions that you're going to make, have you gotten to that place and you say, oh my goodness, that was a bad decision, Or sometimes it may not really be a very bad decision. Sometimes it could be a decision where you say, I wasn't really well informed, So I want us to talk about making good decisions so that you don't get to a point and you say, I could have done better. Try and do better from the onset. You see? So I will try to give some examples. There are things that I have seen over the years. There's no golden rule on that. But I believe some of the things I'll be talking about, they're not really new. But they're things you could try and mix them up with other things that you yourself know or are doing, and then end up making very strong and good decisions. Right? So let's delve in. So, the first and one of the most important things about good decision making is having the right information. Anytime you want to make a decision, for example, you want to buy a car, what information do you have? What car do you want? What way do you want to buy it? Like what methods of payment do you want to use? Do you want to buy it cash? Do you want to buy it through? Are you going to take a loan for it? Are you going to pay it through financing? What ways? And if you're going to you're doing it the cash way, have you checked with your bank like how much money you have? Do you know if you're going to do financing? How does financing work? If you're going to take a loan, what's the interest? All that. Just remember, it is a car you're buying, but there are other many decisions that surround that simple decision of the car. And all those decisions must come together and piece up together very well for this to be a very good decision. You get? So do you have the right information? This information is, you could be getting it from the internet. You could be getting it from talking to people who have information or know-how in cars, dealers, the people who are generally very well versed with cars. Like, just talk about a car, they will tell you the advantages of having this car, not having this car. They will tell you the fuel consumption. They will tell you how, like, the stability of the car, or when it comes to insurance, what are the pros and cons. All that is information. So do you have the right information? That could be like a car. Maybe you're not thinking about buying a car. Now, you want to change jobs, for example, or change careers. Do you have the right information? Do you know how this do you have transferable skills that you could transfer from whatever you're doing to this new career you want to venture into? Those are very important decisions, but don't just think I want to wake up today and change careers. It could happen, no problem. But further down the line, you may have some regrets, you may have some questions where you're thinking like, why am I most so miserable, It's because of information. Anything you do, please dig in. Just have all the information you can get. And something to note on having the right information. I can always tell you, don't think like when you're deciding on changing careers, don't think like the information you're getting at that time is the only important information. Growing up over the years, what information have you had? Because sometimes we want to think like this new information is what matters, but remember, as you go through the path of life, you're collecting information. So go back to your memory bank and think about what information might I have. And I'll give like a little small example for myself. When I wanted to do my master's degree, one of the universities that I had in mind was Leeds University. I knew I wanted to come to the UK. Now, that decision was not informed at the point where I was making the decision to make the application. But I remembered when I was in university doing my undergraduate, I think I was in second year. This lecturer brought this lady to our class. And this lady was just coming to expose us because she was a former student of the university. And then she came to do her master's in the UK. And so my father had studied in the UK for his master's very many years ago, I think in the 80s. But now that time, we're in the 2012, 2013 there. Yeah, so this lady comes and gives us information. So for her, she tells us how she came to the UK. She came on the IMF scholarship. And she said, that one I remember very well because I didn't have that information before. I have not looked up that information, but I think because of what she said then, I think I have figured out that whatever she said was really actually true. She said in the UK, different universities are known for different things. For example, if you want to do a health course, there are universities in a certain area that are known for health courses. For example, was it the London School of Health something? Yes. If you want to do business, there are universities that are good for business courses. If you want to do law, like that. So it was like in the UK, universities have this speciality of when you want to pursue something. And then she said so you need to know. And then she said, the information is always on the internet. The schools leave the information there. You can apply scholarships from the universities, scholarships outside the university, like that. And then she went. At that time, I did not have any idea whether I'll ever come to the UK in my life. Nothing. But then when I thought of doing a master's, that information came in handy because I wanted to come and take a course in epidemiology and biostatistics. And then one of my university lecturers had done his master's as well in Sheffield Hallam University. And you see, and his master's was in informatics. So now when I started wanting to come to the UK, I had to consult my lecturer to find out, is this a good course that I'm going to do? I have decided to go to Leeds University because it has the course I'm looking for. Is this information? Then a friend of ours, a family friend, and one of my mentors had come to Leeds University like 3 months prior to me wanting to come to the UK. So I wanted to find out from him, how is it in Leeds? So what am I saying in all this? I was only seeking information, and I had current information, I had information that was dating back. All that was piecing together to get me to the right information and many other things. So when you have the right information, that is very, very key. You have to always have the right information. Forget about hearsay. Yeah, hearsay will not work in this conversation. You need the right and authentic information. I remember even that time, one of the things is I thought, like when you are in Africa, you always think there has to be a middleman in everything you do. And then at that time I was told, in the UK, you do not need a middleman. You do not need an agency to apply for a university for you. You can do it yourself. Everything is online for the UK, which happened to really help me, and it saved me the trouble of ending up being conned, because if I did not know that, probably I would have thought I needed a middleman, because in Kenya we always believe in middlemen. We believe there has to be an agency. You can't do this by yourself, Yeah, so the right information. Number 2 is exposure. Do you have the right exposure? Now, let me talk about exposure in this context. Some people are city girls, others you've grown up in the village, you've grown up abroad, you've grown up in different various places. I don't think it really matters whether you're in the village or in the city or well-traveled or anything, because exposure could be how you understand, because exposure can come from the internet. Exposure can come from people you interact with, Exposure can come from the materials you interact with, like how well, do you have information, because exposure also ties into information. So how well, how exposed are you, because, for example, think about changing careers and everything. Are you exposed? For example, you're looking for managerial positions and managerial roles. So do you have people that are in those places that could help you understand what you're getting yourself into, because that information is going to be very key and very important. How exposed are you to things like the internet? Because there are people who say and they swear by the internet, while others swear against the internet. So how exposed are you? And even on this internet, there are good things and bad things. But what are you exposing yourself to the internet? For example, on the internet, you could expose yourself to scammers. And on the same internet, you could be exposing yourself to good information, sometimes even free information, sometimes information that you'll have to pay for some. How exposed are you? And this has to do with you being very intentional. Exposure is very intentional because you work at it. So how exposed are you? Because this is going to help you to make the right decisions. For example, you could be exposed to these high profile people who could be your friends and in your circles, and some of the things you're talking about, they're things that they know them through and through. So because of that, you have the right, you have opportunities to approach them, to interact with them, or even for them to open doors for you. So exposure is very important. Exposure is very important because it ties into information. This third one is a big one. I want you to realize that decisions have an expiry date. Yes. People think like you can take all the time you want in the world to make the decisions. Unfortunately, they always say time waits for no man, isn't it? Time is always running. So if you want to change careers and you do not make that decision quick, so chances are age is catching up with you. Sometimes, probably if there was a financial implication on that, it could either cause the cost to go higher, or even for you to miss out on those opportunities. So do not leave an open window when it comes to time. Your decisions must be timed. You must, as you're making good decisions, know you need to work within a time framework that will favor this decision. Because have you heard people who say, I have plan A, plan B, plan C? Sometimes plan A and plan B and plan C come as a result of missing out on the timing of what you're trying to do. So for example, I'll give an example of, just imagine somebody is sick and there's this very vital treatment that they need to undergo. The doctors have given you the pros and cons of their treatment. But unfortunately, there's a time frame, because, for example, the person that you're making this decision for, or if it's your own decision, probably the longer you delay, the worse the person is getting. The quicker you make that decision, maybe the better the opportunities or the chances of them improving. So you realize in this case, you cannot waste time. You cannot dilly-dally. You have to have the right information, have the right exposure, and be also timely on your decision if this decision has to work in your favor. You understand? So there are times that many people have missed out, and a decision ends up to being a bad decision because the timing was wrong. They did not factor in how quick they need to make the decision. But also remember, decision timing is not only limited to you making that decision quick. Sometimes you need to take a back step, pause, and think through that decision. So sometimes time could be, the expiry date could mean you have to put in, to make up your mind very fast. But on the other hand, there are decisions that need you to take your time. Because supposing, do you know how the insurance guys and the marketing guys do? They sell you something like you have to make a decision now. And sometimes because of the heightened emotions, and they've hyped you and hyped your feelings, and your mind is so excited, and that time is the time you just decide to make this quick decision without really thinking, and you commit yourself only to end up committing to a very bad decision. So timing is very important. If it is something that needs urgency, please give it the urgency it deserves. If it is something that needs you to pause and take a back seat and then think it through carefully and clearly, then please do that, because that is also essential for you to have a good decision in the bag, you know. Number 4, there's something that is called voice of reason. We all need that voice of reason. Sometimes the voice of reason could be like the devil's advocate. At this point, maybe it could be like the devil's advocate. It could be the people who tell you the hard truth, or the people who tell you this truth, the bitter truth, but say it with so much love. That voice of reason, you need it. Because, for example, think about, you want to make this decision, you want to buy this beautiful apartment, and you're so super excited, you've done your research, you have the money in the bank, you have everything is ticking the boxes for you. And then somebody comes and just says and asks you, Jennifer, Are you buying this apartment because you like it? Or because of the neighborhood it is in? Or because you really want to prove a point to people? Sometimes we make such decisions, right? Yeah, we make decisions where we want to prove to people like, yeah, I'm making it in life, so I want to do this. And your voice of reason will come and critique that decision and say, honestly, it's good, you have everything is ticking the boxes. But clearly, this decision is really not in your favor. And they will tell you that without batting an eyelid. So you always need that voice of reason in your life, because anybody who has that voice of reason, and that voice of reason could also be your own voice speaking to you, or somebody else who understands you very well and could talk you through the decision you're making, its advantages, its disadvantages, and how you yourself fit into that decision, So we always need that voice of reason. Please do not ignore it. Never, never ignore it if you want to make good decisions. And lastly, I only have 5 points. And the last point is you need your intuition, or that gut feeling. We all have a gut feeling moment, whereby when you're about to make this decision, something tells you this decision is terrible. Or something tells you everything else is not aligning. There are these things that are not aligning, but there's this gut feeling that tells me, go for it. That gut feeling moment, it's something, it's an inborn thing. It's something that God gave to us that communicates when everything else seems not to communicate. I have had that gut feeling moment many times. Many times. I remember one time in 2013. 2013 is 1 year that year. It's one of the toughest years I can ever remember of my life. And I remember I was supposed to go for surgery on a Friday. Friday morning. I remember it like it was yesterday. One day I'll give that story. I know I always say one day I'll give that story. Yes, one day. There are stories and experiences that the time will always be right for me to ever talk about them. And so, that time, so I think some things just take me to a certain place. So, I was going to have my surgery on a Friday morning. And I can tell you, I'm a spiritual person, and I was praying about it. But I could tell you, I had this gut feeling that if I go for surgery on that Friday morning, I will die in surgery. I couldn't tell. Everything was right. Everything seemed okay. But my mind, my heart, everything in me was not at peace with that decision. I fought it the entire night. I think there's when your gut feeling shows up and your intuition shows up, there are things that you cannot really explain to anybody because they'll not make sense. But there's that thing. Have you wanted to take this journey to go somewhere and something within you just says, no, don't go today? And everybody's like, but no, we have paid, we are going to lose a lot of money, and something just tells you, no, not today. And it is after you cancel that trip that everything unfolds and you realize, had I not listened to my gut feeling or to my intuition, this could have gone wrong. So that I do not leave you hanging, for my gut feeling moments, when they came to pick me and take me for surgery, remember I'm battling within me. But I got to a place and I said, okay, God, if you want me to go and die in surgery, then let your will be done. I rest my case. But I had really prayed about it. And when I'm just about to enter the surgery room, a doctor comes and tells me, Jennifer, sorry, we can't do your surgery today because the doctor who's supposed to do your surgery, unfortunately, is sick. And I'm supposed to take over. And because I have not read through your case properly, I don't think it's good for me to do the surgery today. This is a surgery I've done many times. I could do it, but I need time over the weekend to study your case so that I do your surgery. The minute I was wheeled back into the ward, I quickly asked for food, lest the doctor changes his mind and decides to take me out for surgery. And I ate so that by the time they come, they'll say, oh, she's eaten. You know, because when you go for surgery, you have to be fasting, right? Yes. I think I'm alive today because my gut feeling moment agreed with also something else, you know. So, when your gut, you know, that gut feeling, that when your intuition tells you something when you're trying to make a decision, please pause. It could be a superior being and a superior communication telling you you need to pause. And I think as I bring this conversation to a close, I believe most of you, when you think back, you can count the many decisions whereby your gut feeling has saved you. Remember, I always say, to change the world, you need to change your mind. This has been Against All Odds. Catch you in the next video. Bye.